Hello, everybody. My name is Ryan. I will be your speakers for today's poster presentations, Discovering Latent Psychological Structures from Self-Report Assessments of Hospital Workers. I will navigate each section of the posters as a PowerPoint slide for today's presentation. As we face a pandemic, it is important for us to identify how the hospital workforce are affected. There are different factors in the hospital settings that impact the hospital workforce and their life. We conduct a studies tracking these factors and observe and also analyze how each of the factors interact with the hospital workforce and their life. We also apply computational framework of clustering and also non-native factorizations in part of our analysis, and we hope to share these findings with the research community. To understand how the hospital workforce is affected by the stressors in the hospital environments, we conducted a study called TILES, tracking individual performance with sensors in a large US hospitals on 212 hospital workers and for 10 weeks. We also collect daily assessment surveys on their psychological states and also demographic information. In the TILES datasets, there are sensors data and psychometric data. For today's presentations, we will only be discussing the analysis that we conducted on the psychometric data. The psychometric data consists of health, personality, job performance, mood, and cognitive ability survey scores. And we will be using the demographic information in our analysis too. For our methodologies, we apply both clustering and also non-matrix factorization method to identify the latent structure in the psychometric data. This methodology is different from the conventional analysis, which look at the factor one by one. Our methodology look at how these factors interact with each other, and also when we apply non-native factorization method, we are able to uncover a lower dimension structure that is not commonly found in the observable data. We measure latent structure similarities across psychological dimensions and across different extraction methods by using adjusted mutual information. Adjusted mutual information of one means two structures are perfectly identical. In the inner similarity table on the left, we can see that each extraction method have a low adjusted mutual information. What that is telling us is the latent structure that we find in each psychological dimension is quite different. For example, what we found in job is different from the one we found in health. And what that telling us is there is no universal latent structure across the psychological dimension. And for the intra-similarity table, we have found that some of the extraction methods produce quite similar latent structure, while some methods does not. In the cognitive ability latent structure, we have found that hospital workers with higher cognitive ability tend to have stronger ability to problem solve and apply existing knowledge, and are open to new and unconventional experience and feel positively about his or her job performance, but feel more restrictive by the organization rules and norms, and tend to exercise less since they spend more times in their work. And some of the factors that we have found that affect cognitive ability is age, education, job, occupation, and working hours. And these factors are well identified and studied in these type of research. However, we have found culture as one of the factors. And it is interesting to see that since now our analysis revealed that different cultures add on to different problem solving abilities that enrich in complex situations like hospital environment. In the health latent structure, we have found that hospital workers with more children and are currently living with children feel more negatively toward the high demand and overburdening workload from the hospital. They tend to have higher perceived stress, feel more negatively about work, and are less connected to the workplace. And how they cope with these excessive emotion burden is they tend to use more alcohol and tobacco products. And these negative emotion also affects their job performance. They tend to be less organized and they are have more emotional fluctuations and they have trouble getting along with other coworkers too. In today's presentations, we discuss how we identify the latent psychological structures for the hospital workforce. In particular, we discuss the findings on the cognitive abilities and health. Identifying latent psychological structures provide a new insight into factors that affect job performance, well-being, and health of these hospital workers. We hope other research will continue into these lines of research and identifying other factors that affects the hospital workforce. And this will benefit the health communities and also the general public. Thank you everyone for listening to today's poster presentation. If you have any questions, feel free to email me to the email link provided on this slide.